Do you know why the more you worry about money, the less it comes to you? There's something happening in the invisible realm of energy that most people never understand, and today I want to show you exactly how to reverse this pattern that's been keeping you trapped in financial anxiety. I want you to pause for a moment and feel what happens in your body when I say these words. Not having enough. Feel that. Notice how your chest tightens, how your shoulders rise, how your stomach clenches. Your body is responding to a frequency, a vibration of lack that you've been carrying perhaps for years, maybe decades. But what if I told you that this very response, this fear, is the exact thing creating the reality you're trying to avoid? Place your hand on your heart right now. Yes, while you're listening to this. Feel the rhythm there. Feel the life force that has never stopped working on your behalf. That rhythm has been steady since before you took your first breath, and it will continue long after your last. If life can be trusted with something as essential as your heartbeat, perhaps it can be trusted with your prosperity too. Let me tell you about the morning everything changed for me. It was 3:17 in the morning on a Tuesday in March, and I was sitting at my kitchen table surrounded by bills I couldn't pay. I had exactly $843 in my checking account, and the rent alone was $1,200. The late notices were stacked in front of me like a tower of shame, and my hands were so cold from anxiety that I could barely hold the pen to write in my checkbook. I remember the metallic taste of fear in my mouth, the way my stomach felt like it was eating itself from the inside out. I had been repeating the same phrase over and over in my mind for weeks. I don't have enough. I don't have enough. I don't have enough, like a broken record, like a prayer to poverty, like an incantation calling more lack into my life. And in that moment, sitting in the darkness of my kitchen, I realized something that changed everything. I wasn't just observing my financial situation. I was creating it with every worried thought, every fearful breath, every moment I spent in the energy of not enough. I started to cry. Not the gentle tears of sadness, but the deep, body-shaking sobs of someone who finally sees the cage they've built around themselves. Because in that moment of complete breakdown, I understood that I had been my own jailer. My thoughts about money, my beliefs about what I deserved, my constant focus on what was missing, these were the bars of my financial prison. But here's what Louise Hay taught me, and here's what I want you to understand with every fiber of your being. The same mind that created the problem of lack is capable of creating the solution of abundance. The same energy you've been using to worry about money can be redirected to call money in. The same power you've given to fear can be given to faith. It's not about having more money in your bank account first and then feeling abundant. It's about feeling abundant first and then watching your bank account change. That night, at 3:17 in the morning, I made a decision that seemed completely illogical given my circumstances. I decided to stop fighting against my lack and start aligning with my abundance. I placed both hands on my heart and whispered something that felt like a lie, but turned out to be the deepest truth I'd ever spoken. I said, I am abundance itself. Not I want abundance. Not I hope for abundance. Not someday I'll have abundance. I am abundance itself. If this is resonating with something deep in your heart, if you're feeling a shift in your chest as you listen to these words, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Every week, there's a new teaching waiting for you, a new piece of the puzzle that can transform not just your relationship with money, but your entire experience of being alive. This work we're doing together, it's not just about financial healing. It's about remembering who you really are beneath all the fear. While you're feeling this energy of possibility moving through you, go down to the comments and share what emotion is arising for you right now. Is it hope? Is it fear? Is it resistance? Is it excitement? There's no right or wrong response. I just want you to notice what's happening in your body as we begin to shift this energy around money together. Let me tell you about Cordelia. 3 months ago, she came to one of my workshops carrying the same energy you might be carrying right now. She'd been a teacher for 27 years, living paycheck to paycheck, always worried about having enough for retirement, always choosing the cheapest option, always saying no to things she wanted because money felt so scarce. She told me that every morning she would wake up and the first thought that entered her mind was about bills. The second thought was about how much was left in her account. The third thought was usually some version of, I'm never going to have enough. Cordelia learned something in that workshop that changed her life in 21 days. She learned that money is not about money. Money is about energy. Money is about self-worth. Money is about your relationship with receiving. Money is about whether you believe the universe is friendly or hostile. And most importantly, money is about whether you believe you deserve to be taken care of by life itself. She started practicing one simple thing every morning. Instead of reaching for her phone to check her bank balance, which was her pattern for years, she would place her hand on her heart and say, "The universe is abundant, and I am part of the universe. Therefore, I am abundant." She said it even when it felt like a lie. She said it even when her logical mind protested. She said it even when her circumstances hadn't changed yet. And here's what happened. By day 7, she received a call from a former colleague offering her a part-time consulting position she hadn't even applied for. By day 14, her landlord called to say there had been an error in her rent calculation and she would be receiving a refund of $400. By day 21, she had been approached by a publishing company interested in the children's book she had written years ago, but never submitted anywhere. But the most profound change wasn't in her bank account. It was in her body. The constant tension she had carried in her shoulders for decades had melted away. She was sleeping through the night for the first time in years. Food tasted better. Colors seemed brighter. She had stopped fighting with life and started dancing with it. This is what's possible when you understand that prosperity begins inside. This is what's waiting for you on the other side of your willingness to see money differently, to see yourself differently, to see life itself differently. Your external world is always a reflection of your internal world. Change your inner relationship with abundance, and your outer circumstances must follow. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't spiritual bypassing. This is universal law in action. Now we're going to do something together that might feel strange at first, but I want you to trust the process. What I'm about to share with you is a practice that has the power to begin shifting your financial reality immediately. Not because I say so, but because it aligns you with the frequency of abundance that already exists within you. First, I want you to sit comfortably if you're not already. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your body supported by whatever you're sitting on. Take a moment to acknowledge that right now, in this moment, you are safe. You are breathing. You are alive. These are not small things. These are miracles happening without your effort, without your management, without your control. Life is taking care of you in the most fundamental ways possible, and this is where abundance begins. With the recognition of what's already being given freely, place your right hand on your heart. Feel the warmth of your palm against your chest. Feel the steady rhythm beneath your hand. This heart has been beating for you since before you were born, without vacation, without complaint, without asking for payment. If life can be trusted with something as essential as your heartbeat, can you consider that it might also be trusted with your financial well-being? Now place your left hand on your abdomen, just below your rib cage. This is where you store your power, your life force, your connection to the creative energy of the universe. Many people who struggle with money feel empty here, disconnected from their own worth, cut off from the source of their power. But your power hasn't gone anywhere. It's just been covered over by fear, by stories, by beliefs that were never even yours to begin with. I want you to breathe into this space now. Breathe as if you're filling your entire torso with golden light. Breathe as if abundance itself is entering your body with each inhale. Don't worry if you don't feel anything immediately. Your body is learning a new language, the language of receiving, the language of enough, the language of more than enough. On your next inhale, I want you to say silently to yourself, I breathe in abundance. On your exhale, say, I release all fear of lack. Let's do this 3 times together. Inhale, I breathe in abundance. Exhale, I release all fear of lack. Again. Inhale, I breathe in abundance. Exhale, I release all fear of lack. One more time. Inhale, I breathe in abundance. Exhale, I release all fear of lack. Now I'm going to teach you the most powerful mantra I know for transforming your relationship with money. It's simple, but simplicity is often where the greatest power lies. The words are, I am abundance, not I want abundance. Not I need abundance. Not someday I'll have abundance. I am abundance. These three words, when spoken with conviction, with feeling, with the full authority of your being, can begin to rewire decades of scarcity programming. We're going to say this mantra in 3 different ways, and I want you to notice what happens in your body with each repetition. First, whisper it like a secret you're telling your own heart. I am abundance. Feel how gentle that is, how intimate, how tender. This is you making a quiet confession to yourself about who you really are beneath all the worry and fear. Now say it in your normal speaking voice, with confidence and clarity. I am abundance. Feel how that lands differently. This is you stating a fact, claiming a truth, making a declaration to the universe about your identity. You're not asking permission. You're not hoping it might be true. You're stating what is. Now say it with the full authority of your being, as if you're speaking from the deepest truth of who you are. I am abundance. Feel the power in those words. Feel how they vibrate in your chest, how they seem to come from a place deeper than your personality, deeper than your history, deeper than your circumstances. This is your soul speaking its truth. Pause for a moment. You're feeling something, aren't you? A shift, a change, an opening? Maybe it's subtle, maybe it's profound, but something has moved. Your body knows the difference between the energy of lack and the energy of abundance, and you've just given it permission to remember abundance. You've just reminded every cell in your body that scarcity is not your natural state. Some of you might be feeling emotional right now. If tears are coming, let them come. These are healing tears, release tears, tears that are washing away years of believing you weren't worthy of financial ease. If you're feeling resistance, that's normal too. Part of you has been protected by worry, has felt safer in the familiar territory of not enough than in the unknown territory of plenty. Thank that part of you for trying to keep you safe, and gently choose abundance anyway. As you continue to breathe with your hands on your heart and abdomen, imagine that with each breath, you're drawing abundance not just into your lungs, but into your bank account, into your mailbox, into every area of your life where money is needed. See abundance as a golden light filling your body and then expanding beyond your body, creating a magnetic field around you that attracts opportunities, resources, generous people, unexpected income. You might be noticing that your shoulders have dropped, that your jaw has unclenched, that your breathing has deepened. This is what happens when you stop fighting against life and start aligning with it. This is what happens when you remember that you're not separate from the abundance of the universe. You are the universe expressing itself as you, and the universe knows nothing of lack. While you're integrating this feeling of expansion and possibility, I want you to go to the comments and share what sensations you're experiencing right now. Are you feeling warmth, lightness, tingling, peace, excitement, resistance? Whatever you're feeling is perfect. I want to hear your story in the comments because your sharing might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Keep breathing into this new frequency. Keep feeling this energy of abundance moving through your system. This isn't just a meditation. This is a recalibration. You're tuning your energy to match the frequency of prosperity. And when you hold this frequency consistently, your external reality will have no choice but to match it. Let me share with you something that Louise Hay discovered in her own journey from poverty consciousness to prosperity consciousness. Something that changed not only her financial reality, but the financial reality of millions of people around the world. She learned that poverty is not about how much money you have in your bank account. Poverty is a state of mind, a collection of beliefs, a frequency you broadcast to the universe about what you expect to receive from life. Louise grew up in a household where money was always a source of stress, where there was never enough, where every financial decision was made from fear. By the time she was an adult, she had internalized these patterns so completely that even when she began to have success with her spiritual work, she would unconsciously sabotage her financial opportunities. She would undercharge for her services, give away more than she could afford, make financial decisions that kept her struggling, even as her work was helping thousands of people heal their lives. It wasn't until she began to understand the connection between self-worth and net worth that everything shifted. She realized that money is simply energy, and energy always flows toward where it's welcomed, appreciated, and valued. When you constantly worry about money, when you live in fear of not having enough, when you treat money as the enemy or as something that's scarce and hard to come from, you create an energetic barrier that actually repels the very thing you're trying to attract. What Louise discovered, and what science is now proving, is that your beliefs about money were primarily formed before you were 7 years old. Before your logical, rational mind was fully developed, you absorbed the money consciousness of your family system. You learned whether money was good or bad, scarce or abundant, easy to make or hard to earn, not through conscious teaching, but through the emotional atmosphere around money in your early environment. Here's what's fascinating. Your subconscious mind, which controls 95% of your behavior, doesn't distinguish between past, present, and future. It doesn't know that you're not 7 years old anymore. It's still running the same programs about money that were installed decades ago. So even if you consciously want to have more money, if your subconscious programming says money is dangerous, or that good people don't have money, or that you don't deserve financial ease, you'll find yourself unconsciously making choices that maintain the familiar pattern of lack. But neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural pathways at any age, gives us tremendous hope. Every time you speak a word of abundance instead of lack, every time you choose gratitude over complaint, every time you act from faith instead of fear, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're creating new neural pathways that support prosperity instead of poverty. The words you speak aren't just communication. They're frequencies that reshape your reality at the cellular level. When you say, "I don't have enough money," your subconscious mind hears this as an instruction. It begins to create evidence to support this belief. You'll notice the bills more than the abundance. You'll attract circumstances that confirm your lack. You'll make financial decisions that keep you struggling because that's what feels familiar and safe to your subconscious programming. But when you say, "I am abundant, money flows easily to me, the universe is generous, and so am I," you're giving your subconscious mind new instructions. You're broadcasting a different frequency. You're aligning with the truth that abundance is your natural state, that scarcity is the aberration, that the universe wants you to thrive. Now, I want to address 3 resistances that almost everyone has when they first hear this teaching. Because if you're like most people, your logical mind is probably protesting right now. The first resistance is, "But I really don't have money. My bank account is actually empty. This is real life, not spiritual fantasy." I understand this concern completely. What I'm not suggesting is that you ignore practical reality or that you can just think your way to wealth without taking action. What I am saying is that your current financial circumstances are the result of your past thinking, and your future financial circumstances will be the result of your current thinking. You can acknowledge where you are right now while simultaneously planting seeds of abundance consciousness that will grow into your new financial reality. The second resistance is, "This seems too spiritual for something as practical as money." I need real solutions, not just positive thinking. Here's what I want you to understand. Energy and matter are 2 forms of the same thing. Everything in the physical world, including money, started as energy, as frequency, as vibration. When you change your energetic relationship with money, you're not bypassing practical action. You're ensuring that the actions you take will be aligned with abundance instead of scarcity, which makes them infinitely more effective. The third resistance is one that goes very deep, and it's often unconscious. It's the belief that wealthy people don't deserve their money, that there's something morally superior about struggling financially, that money corrupts, that you can't be both spiritual and prosperous. These beliefs will sabotage your financial success faster than any external circumstance because they make success feel dangerous to your identity. If you unconsciously believe that having money makes you a bad person, you'll find ways to get rid of it even when it comes to you. If you're starting to see how your inner world has been creating your outer world, if you're beginning to understand that changing your relationship with money is really about changing your relationship with yourself, I want you to subscribe to this channel. Because what I'm sharing with you is just the beginning. There's so much more depth to this work, and I want to make sure you have access to every tool you need to create the financial freedom you deserve. Let me tell you about Thaddeus, a carpenter who came to understand these principles after 32 years of feast or famine financial cycles. He would land a big job and feel abundant for a few months. Then work would dry up, and he'd be back to panic and scarcity. For 3 decades, he rode this roller coaster, never understanding that he was creating both the abundance and the scarcity through his own consciousness. When work was good, he would unconsciously start to worry about when it would end. When work was scarce, he would focus so intensely on the lack that he couldn't see the opportunities that were right in front of him. Once he learned to maintain abundance consciousness, regardless of his external circumstances, his income stabilized at a level higher than his previous peaks, and it's stayed there for 2 years now. This is the power of understanding that prosperity begins inside. Your external circumstances will always mirror your internal state. Change the inside, and the outside must follow. Now that you understand the foundation of how abundance consciousness works, I want to give you 3 specific practices that will begin to shift your financial reality immediately. These aren't complicated spiritual exercises that require hours of meditation. These are simple, practical tools that you can integrate into your daily life starting today. The first practice is what I call financial gratitude, and it's one of the most powerful abundance magnets I've ever encountered. Most people focus on what they don't have when it comes to money. They look at their bills instead of their blessings. They count their debts instead of their assets. They notice what they can't afford instead of appreciating what they can afford. This focus on lack creates more lack, because attention is energy, and energy creates reality. Financial gratitude turns this around completely. Every morning, before you look at your bank balance, before you think about your bills, before you start your day, I want you to spend 3 minutes acknowledging the abundance that's already present in your life. Start with the basics. Thank the universe for the roof over your head, the food in your refrigerator, the clothes on your body, the shoes on your feet. These might seem ordinary to you, but to billions of people on this planet, these are luxuries. Then expand your gratitude to include things that money can't buy, but that represent the wealth of your life. Thank the universe for your health, your friendships, your ability to see and hear and taste and touch. Thank life for your talents, your experience, your wisdom, your capacity to love and be loved. Thank the universe for this very moment, for the breath in your lungs, for the opportunity to grow and learn and become more of who you really are. As you practice financial gratitude, you'll notice something miraculous happening. Your perception will begin to shift from scarcity to abundance. You'll start to see evidence of prosperity everywhere instead of evidence of lack, and what you focus on expands. As you appreciate the abundance that's already present, you create space for more abundance to flow into your life. The second practice is the Morning Abundance Declaration, and it's designed to set your energetic frequency for prosperity before the world has a chance to influence your consciousness. The moment you wake up, before you get out of bed, before you check your phone, before your mind starts churning with the day's concerns, I want you to place your hand on your heart and make this declaration: money flows to me easily and abundantly, in perfect right action, under grace. Say it 3 times, with increasing conviction each time. The first time, say it like a whisper, like a secret you're sharing with your own heart. The second time, say it with confidence, like a statement of fact. The third time, say it with the full authority of your being, like a decree that cannot be changed. Feel the words vibrating in your chest. Feel them settling into your cellular memory. Feel them beginning to reorganize your energy around the frequency of financial ease. This declaration is not just words. It's a frequency you're broadcasting to the universe about what you expect to receive. It's an instruction you're giving to your subconscious mind about how money moves in your life. It's an alignment tool that tunes your consciousness to abundance before the day begins. When you start your day from this frequency, you'll notice that opportunities appear more easily, that people are more generous with you, that financial solutions present themselves in ways you couldn't have planned or predicted. The third practice is abundance visualization, and it works because your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you consistently visualize abundance, you're literally training your nervous system to expect prosperity, to be comfortable with wealth, to recognize opportunities when they appear. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed for 5 minutes. Close your eyes and imagine yourself living from a place of complete financial ease. See yourself checking your bank balance and feeling calm and grateful instead of anxious. Visualize yourself making purchases without stress, choosing what you want instead of settling for what you can afford. Imagine yourself being generous with others, paying your bills with gratitude, saving money effortlessly. But here's the key. Don't just see these images in your mind. Feel them in your body. Feel the relaxation in your shoulders when money isn't a constant worry. Feel the lightness in your chest when you know you're financially secure. Feel the warmth in your heart when you're able to be generous with the people you love. Feel the confidence in your step when you know you're taken care of by the universe. Your body doesn't know that you're visualizing. As far as your nervous system is concerned, you're experiencing financial abundance right now. And when your body becomes familiar with the feeling of abundance, it will help you make choices and take actions that create abundance in your external reality. Let me share with you what happened to Serafina when she began practicing these 3 tools consistently. Serafina had been a social worker for 18 years, deeply committed to helping others, but living paycheck to paycheck herself. She had unconsciously absorbed the belief that good people don't focus on money, that wanting financial ease was somehow selfish or unspiritual. For years, she would sacrifice her own financial well-being to help others, thinking this made her more virtuous. After 6 months of practicing financial gratitude every morning, the abundance declaration upon waking, and the visualization every evening before sleep, 3 things shifted simultaneously. First, she was offered a promotion at work that came with a salary increase of $18,000 per year. Second, she inherited $7,300 from a great aunt she barely remembered. Third, and most importantly, her entire relationship with money transformed. She stopped feeling guilty about having financial desires. She started making decisions that honored her own worth. She began to understand that taking care of herself financially was actually a service to others because it allowed her to give from abundance instead of depletion. Of the 3 practices I've shared with you, which one calls to your attention? Which one feels like something you could actually integrate into your life starting tomorrow? Which practice resonates with your heart as the key that might unlock your financial transformation? I want to know, because your intuition is more powerful than my instruction. Trust what feels right for you and commit to it completely. These practices aren't about forcing the universe to give you money. They're about aligning your consciousness with the abundance that's already available to you. They're about removing the energetic blocks that have been keeping prosperity at arm's length. They're about remembering that you don't have to earn abundance. You simply have to stop arguing with it. Now we're going to go deeper, beyond the foundational practices into the realm where real transformation happens. This is where you begin to work with the core programming that has been running your financial life from the shadows, often without your conscious awareness. What I'm about to share with you requires courage, because it asks you to look at patterns you might have been avoiding, stories you might have been telling yourself, and beliefs you inherited that were never actually yours to begin with. The 4th practice is called ancestral money healing, and it's based on the understanding that financial patterns often run through family lines, like rivers run through landscapes. You didn't just inherit your eye color and your height from your ancestors. You also inherited their beliefs about money, their fears about scarcity, their stories about what people like you are allowed to have or not have. These inherited beliefs live in your cellular memory, influencing your financial choices in ways you might not even recognize. Think about the messages about money you heard growing up. Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. Rich people are greedy. Money is the root of all evil. There's not enough to go around. We have to work hard for every penny. People like us don't get to be wealthy. These phrases might seem harmless, but they're actually programming instructions that your young mind accepted as truth about how money works in the world. To heal these ancestral money patterns, I want you to do something that might feel strange, but is profoundly powerful. Sit quietly and bring your ancestors to mind, particularly the ones who struggled financially. See them in your mind's eye with compassion, understanding that they did the best they could with the consciousness they had. Feel their fear, their struggle, their limiting beliefs about money, and then speak to them from your heart. Say something like this, dear ancestors: I honor your struggle, and I understand that you passed these money fears to me because you were trying to protect me from the pain you experienced. But I am choosing differently now. I am healing these patterns not just for myself, but for all of us. I release the belief that money is scarce. I release the fear of not having enough. I choose abundance for myself and for the generations that will come after me. I forgive you for the limitations you carried, and I break this cycle with love. You might feel emotional as you do this practice. You might feel a weight lifting from your shoulders, a burden you didn't even know you were carrying, suddenly released. This is generational healing happening in real time. You're not just changing your own financial future. You're healing the money wounds of your entire family line. The fifth practice is the most direct abundance tool I know. And it works because it bypasses your logical mind and speaks directly to your cellular intelligence. It's called the merit touch, and it's designed to anchor your sense of deserving directly into your body so that abundance feels natural instead of foreign. Place your hand over your heart and feel the rhythm there. This heart has been beating for you without interruption, without payment, without you having to prove your worth. The universe has been investing in you since before you were born, providing you with exactly what you need to sustain life, moment by moment. You have never had to earn your next breath. You have never had to justify your existence. Life gives to you freely because you are life expressing itself. Now, while feeling that heartbeat, say with deep conviction, I deserve abundance because I exist, not because I work hard, not because I'm a good person, not because I help others. Simply because I exist. Say it again. I deserve abundance because I exist. Feel how this simple statement begins to dissolve decades of programming that taught you that you had to earn love, earn approval, earn your place in the world. Your worth is not determined by your productivity. Your value is not measured by your achievements. You deserve abundance for the same reason flowers deserve sunlight and rivers deserve to flow to the ocean. Because you are a natural expression of life, and life is inherently abundant. When you truly understand this at the cellular level, when you feel it in your bones instead of just thinking it in your mind, your financial reality will shift because you'll stop unconsciously sabotaging the abundance that's trying to reach you. Let me explain the deeper mechanics of how this works. Self-worth and net worth are intimately connected. If you don't believe you deserve abundance, you will unconsciously find ways to reject it even when it's offered to you. You'll undercharge for your services. You'll accept less than your worth in employment negotiations. You'll give away your time and energy for free. You'll make financial decisions that keep you struggling because deep down, struggle feels more familiar and safe than ease. But when you truly know your worth, when you understand that abundance is your birthright, when you feel deserving at the cellular level, you naturally begin to make choices that reflect this inner knowing. You charge what your services are actually worth. You negotiate from confidence instead of desperation. You receive compliments and opportunities without deflecting them. You allow money to flow to you without guilt or apology. This is why abundance consciousness is not just about attracting more money. It's about becoming the kind of person who is comfortable having money, who knows how to receive it gracefully, who can hold wealth without it corrupting their character or distancing them from their heart. Many people focus so much on getting money that they never develop the inner capacity to keep it once it comes. You have complete power over your financial consciousness. You may not have control over every external circumstance that affects your finances, but you have 100% authority over how you think about money, how you feel about abundance, how you speak about prosperity, and how you act from these new beliefs. This authority is where your real power lies. Your financial reality is not happening to you. It's being created by you, through you, as you. Every worried thought about money is a vote for scarcity. Every grateful thought about abundance is a vote for prosperity. Every action you take from fear reinforces lack. Every action you take from faith creates more opportunities for abundance to flow into your life. You are not a victim of your financial circumstances. You are the creator of them. And here's the most empowering truth I can share with you. You don't have to wait until you feel abundant to start acting abundant. You don't have to wait until your bank account changes to start changing your consciousness. You can begin right now, in this moment, to think like a person who is financially free. You can begin right now to make decisions from abundance instead of scarcity. You can begin right now to treat yourself and others with the generosity of someone who knows that the universe is endlessly creative in its ability to provide. The universe has been waiting for you to claim your abundance. It's been waiting for you to stop arguing with prosperity and start aligning with it. It's been waiting for you to understand that you don't have to earn what is already yours by divine right. I want to be completely honest with you about what this journey actually looks like, because transformation isn't always linear, and abundance consciousness doesn't develop overnight. Understanding the process, knowing what to expect at each stage, will help you stay committed when your logical mind tries to convince you that nothing is changing. The truth is, everything is changing from the moment you begin this work, but the changes often happen in the invisible realm before they become visible in your external circumstances. This is not about overnight miracles, though miracles do happen. This is about sustainable transformation that creates lasting change in your relationship with money and abundance. What I'm about to share with you is a realistic timeline based on working with thousands of people who have used these principles to transform their financial lives. In the first 3 days of practicing these abundance principles consistently, you'll notice something subtle but profound happening in your nervous system. The constant background anxiety you might have been carrying about money will begin to ease. You won't wake up with that familiar knot in your stomach when you think about bills. You won't feel that immediate surge of panic when you check your bank balance. This might seem small, but it's actually huge, because you're beginning to break the cycle of fear that has been perpetuating your financial struggle. During this initial phase, pay attention to how your body feels when you think about money. Notice if your shoulders are less tense, if your breathing is deeper, if your jaw is more relaxed. These physical shifts are signs that your nervous system is beginning to trust that you're safe even when your bank account isn't exactly where you want it to be. This felt sense of safety is the foundation upon which all abundance is built. By day 7, something significant shifts. This is when you'll likely experience your first external confirmation that something is changing. It might be small. A friend offering to pay for dinner when you were worried about the expense, finding money you had forgotten about, receiving an unexpected refund or discount, getting information about a financial opportunity you hadn't known existed. These aren't coincidences. They're signs that your new abundance consciousness is beginning to affect your external reality. The most important thing during this week is to notice these signs and acknowledge them with gratitude. Many people dismiss these small confirmations as luck or coincidence, but doing so actually blocks bigger abundance from flowing. Every time you recognize and appreciate evidence of abundance, no matter how small, you're telling the universe to send more. During the second week, you'll notice changes in your relationship with spending and saving. You'll find yourself making different financial choices, not because you're forcing yourself to be disciplined, but because your values around money are shifting organically. You might find yourself less interested in impulse purchases that you used to make from emotional emptiness. You might notice yourself naturally saving money or investing in things that truly add value to your life instead of just providing temporary pleasure. This is also when people around you might start commenting that something about you seems different. They might not be able to pinpoint what it is, but they'll sense a shift in your energy. You're carrying yourself differently because you're beginning to feel differently about your worth and your relationship with abundance. This shift in how you're perceived by others often leads to new opportunities presenting themselves. By the third week, you're likely to experience what I call the abundance acceleration. This is when multiple financial opportunities or improvements seem to happen simultaneously. You might get a raise, find a new source of income, have a debt unexpectedly resolved, or receive money from an unexpected source. What's really happening is that your new consciousness has reached a tipping point where it's creating consistent change in your external reality. This can actually be a challenging time because your old identity might resist these changes. Part of you might feel scared of success, worried that you don't deserve these improvements, or anxious about how your life will change if you continue to prosper. This is completely normal. Change, even positive change, can feel threatening to the part of you that has found safety in the familiar patterns of struggle. By the 1 month mark, the most profound shift has usually occurred, and it's not necessarily in your bank account, though that often changes too. The most important transformation is in your identity. You've moved from seeing yourself as someone who struggles with money to seeing yourself as someone who is naturally abundant. You've stopped feeling like a victim of financial circumstances and started feeling like the conscious creator of your financial reality. This identity shift is permanent if you continue to practice these principles consistently. You might still face financial challenges from time to time because that's part of life, but you'll meet those challenges from a completely different place. Instead of panicking and contracting, you'll breathe deeply and look for solutions. Instead of focusing on what's missing, you'll focus on what's possible. Instead of feeling powerless, you'll remember that you have the ability to create change through your consciousness and your actions. I want to address something important here about the journey. You will have days when the old fears return. You will have moments when you doubt that this work is actually changing anything. You will face situations that challenge your new abundance consciousness and tempt you to return to old patterns of worry and scarcity. This is not failure. This is part of the process. Think of learning abundance consciousness like learning to play a musical instrument. In the beginning, every note requires conscious attention and effort. Your fingers don't naturally know where to go, and the music doesn't flow easily. But with consistent practice, playing becomes more natural, more automatic, more effortless. The same thing happens with abundance consciousness. In the beginning, thinking abundantly requires conscious effort. But with time and practice, abundance thinking becomes your default mode. The key is consistency, not perfection. You don't have to maintain perfect abundance consciousness every moment of every day. You simply need to return to these practices again and again, especially when you notice yourself falling back into old patterns of fear and lack. Every time you catch yourself thinking scarcity thoughts and consciously choose abundance thoughts instead, you're strengthening your abundance muscle. Which phase of this journey do you recognize in yourself right now? Are you in the beginning stages where you're noticing shifts in your nervous system? Are you seeing the first external confirmations of change? Are you in the acceleration phase where multiple opportunities are presenting themselves? I want to know because understanding where you are in the process helps me know how to support you most effectively. Here's where most people make the mistake that derails their transformation. They get excited about the initial changes, but when they hit the resistance phase, when the old fears resurface, when they face a financial challenge that triggers their old patterns, they assume the work isn't working, and they go back to their previous ways of thinking and being. But you're not most people. You understand that resistance is actually a sign that transformation is happening, that your old identity is dissolving to make room for your new abundance consciousness. Now, we must speak honestly about what will try to stop you from claiming your financial freedom, what will whisper in your ear that abundance is not for you, what will attempt to pull you back into the familiar patterns of lack and limitation. These obstacles are not external forces working against you. They are internal patterns, unconscious programs, inherited beliefs that have been running your financial life from the shadows for years, perhaps decades. To transform your relationship with money permanently, you must recognize these obstacles and meet them with consciousness and compassion. The first obstacle that will emerge as you begin to prosper is what I call spiritual guilt. This is the deeply ingrained belief that there's something inherently unspiritual about wanting money, that good people don't focus on material wealth, that choosing abundance somehow makes you shallow or materialistic. This guilt often comes from religious or spiritual teachings that positioned poverty as virtue and wealth as corruption, creating an unconscious association between having money and losing your soul. You might find yourself thinking, I should be grateful for what I have instead of wanting more. Or, focusing on money feels selfish when so many people are suffering. Or, if I have abundance, that means someone else has to go without. These thoughts feel noble and righteous, but they're actually rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding of how abundance works. The universe is not a pie with limited slices where your prosperity takes away from someone else's. The universe is infinitely creative and endlessly expansive. Your abundance actually creates more abundance for everyone around you because prosperity consciousness is contagious. True spirituality includes the recognition that you came to this earth to experience the fullness of life, and financial ease is part of that fullness. You didn't incarnate to struggle and suffer your way to heaven. You came here to learn and grow and create and love, and money is simply a tool that can support all of these purposes. When you have financial freedom, you have more capacity to serve others, more resources to contribute to causes you care about, more time to focus on what truly matters instead of constantly worrying about survival. The second obstacle is the fear of success, and this one runs much deeper than most people realize. Success changes how others see you, how you see yourself, and what's expected of you going forward. If you've spent your life being the one who needs help, who struggles, who can't afford things, prosperity will require you to step into a completely different identity. This can feel terrifying because your relationships might change, your family dynamics might shift, and you might lose the sympathy and support you've received from being in a difficult position. There's also the unconscious fear that if you become successful and then lose what you've gained, the fall will be more painful than never having risen at all. Part of you might prefer the safety of low expectations rather than risking the disappointment of failure. But what this fear doesn't understand is that the consciousness that creates abundance once can create it again. Success isn't something you achieve and then have to protect. It's something you become, and what you become cannot be taken away from you. The third obstacle is the weight of generational poverty patterns. If you come from a family where struggle has been the norm for generations, where everyone believes that people like you don't get to be wealthy, where financial difficulty is seen as an inevitable part of life, stepping into abundance can feel like a betrayal of your people. You might unconsciously sabotage your success to maintain loyalty to your family's struggle, to avoid standing out, to prevent yourself from moving beyond what your ancestors were able to achieve. This pattern often shows up as guilt when good things happen financially. You might find yourself thinking, "Why do I deserve this when my parents worked so hard and never had it easy?" Or, "Who am I to have abundance when everyone I love is struggling?" But healing these patterns isn't about abandoning your family or forgetting their struggles. It's about honoring their sacrifices by creating the life they dreamed of for you but never believed was possible. The fourth obstacle is comparison consciousness. And in our age of social media and constant information about how everyone else is living, this obstacle has become particularly powerful. You might find yourself looking at others who seem to have more money than you and feeling inadequate, behind, or like you're not manifesting abundance fast enough. Or you might look at others who have less and feel guilty about your desires for more. Both forms of comparison take you out of your own abundance journey and into judgment, which instantly lowers your vibration and blocks prosperity. The truth is, everyone's financial journey is unique. Everyone has different lessons to learn, different gifts to offer, different timing for their prosperity to unfold. Comparing your beginning to someone else's middle, or your middle to someone else's highlight reel, will only create suffering and block the very abundance you're trying to attract. Your job is not to manifest abundance faster than someone else or to feel guilty for wanting more than others have. Your job is to focus on your own relationship with prosperity and trust that the universe has perfect timing for your financial expansion. The fifth and deepest obstacle is what I call the fear of the unknown. Even if your current financial situation is stressful and limiting, it's familiar. You know how to navigate struggle. You know what to expect from scarcity. You have systems and stories and identities built around not having enough. Abundance, even when you want it desperately, represents unknown territory. Who will you be when money isn't a constant worry? How will your relationships change when you're no longer the one who can't afford things? What new challenges will prosperity bring? This fear can be so unconscious that you don't even realize it's operating, but it shows up in subtle self-sabotage. You might procrastinate on opportunities that could increase your income. You might make financial decisions that maintain familiar patterns of struggle. You might find reasons why abundance practices don't work or why prosperity isn't realistic for someone in your situation. All of this resistance stems from the part of you that would rather deal with familiar difficulties than unfamiliar possibilities. The key to working with this obstacle is to remember that abundance doesn't happen overnight. You'll have time to adjust, time to grow into your new financial reality, time to develop the skills and consciousness needed to handle prosperity gracefully. You don't have to figure out how to manage millions of dollars right now. You just have to be willing to receive the next level of abundance that's trying to reach you. What I want you to understand about all of these obstacles is that they're not permanent barriers to your financial freedom. They're temporary challenges that arise to help you grow stronger, clearer, more committed to your abundance journey. Every obstacle you work through successfully makes you more capable of receiving and maintaining greater levels of prosperity. Every fear you face with courage dissolves another layer of limitation that has been keeping abundance at arm's length. These obstacles are also information. They show you exactly where your consciousness still needs healing, where your beliefs still need updating, where your identity still needs expansion. Instead of seeing them as problems, you can choose to see them as guidance, as gifts that help you become the person who can handle abundance gracefully and use prosperity in service of your highest good and the highest good of all life. All of these obstacles are resolved through the same process: awareness, compassion, and choice. When you notice resistance arising, you acknowledge it without judgment. When you recognize an old pattern operating, you thank it for trying to protect you and consciously choose a new response. When you feel fear about stepping into greater prosperity, you breathe deeply and remember that abundance is your birthright and that you're capable of handling whatever expansion brings. As your consciousness shifts and your energy aligns more consistently with abundance, life will begin sending you signals that transformation is happening. These signs often appear long before major changes manifest in your bank account, but they're crucial indicators that your internal work is creating external movement. Learning to recognize and appreciate these signals strengthens your abundance muscle and accelerates the manifestation process. The microsigns appear first, and they're often so subtle that people miss them entirely or dismiss them as coincidence. But these small confirmations are actually the universe's way of saying, yes, you're on the right path, keep going. Abundance is building momentum in your life. When you acknowledge these microsigns with gratitude, you invite more substantial manifestations to follow. You might notice that when you check your bank balance, instead of feeling the familiar knot of anxiety in your stomach, you feel calm or even curious. This shift in your nervous system response is huge because it means you're no longer in constant fight or flight mode about money. Your body is learning to trust that you're financially safe even when your circumstances haven't dramatically changed yet. This felt sense of safety allows abundance to flow more easily because you're no longer energetically pushing it away with fear. Another microsign is that you start making different choices around small purchases without conscious effort. Maybe you find yourself naturally choosing quality over cheapness, or investing in things that truly serve you rather than buying things from emotional impulse. You might notice that you're less interested in spending money to fill emotional voids and more interested in purchases that align with your values and long-term well-being. These aren't forced changes. They happen organically as your relationship with money transforms. You might also start receiving small, unexpected amounts of money. Finding coins on the street, getting refunds you weren't expecting, having someone pay you back money you'd forgotten they owed, receiving discounts or deals that save you money you would have spent. Again, these might seem insignificant, but they're signs that the universe is beginning to send financial energy in your direction. Each small amount is practice for receiving larger amounts. The medium-level signs are more noticeable and often involve other people responding to your changed energy. You might find that people are more generous with you, more willing to help, more likely to think of you when opportunities arise. This happens because as your abundance consciousness grows, you naturally radiate a different energy. People can sense, even unconsciously, when someone feels worthy and abundant versus when someone feels needy and desperate. Opportunities that align with your skills and interests might start presenting themselves in ways you didn't expect. Someone might mention a job opening that sounds perfect for you. A friend might ask if you're interested in a side project that could bring in extra income. You might see or hear about possibilities that feel like they were designed specifically for your situation. These opportunities often seem to appear out of nowhere, but what's actually happening is that your new consciousness is making you more receptive to possibilities that were always around you. During this phase, you might also notice synchronicities around money and abundance. You might consistently see certain numbers that feel significant, or hear songs with lyrics about prosperity, or have conversations with strangers who mention exactly what you need to hear about financial growth. These synchronicities are the universe's way of confirming that you're aligned with abundance and encouraging you to keep moving in this direction. Your relationships might begin shifting as well. People who were comfortable with you being in financial struggle might feel threatened by your growing confidence and abundance consciousness. Conversely, you might attract new relationships with people who have healthier relationships with money and success. This can be challenging emotionally, but it's a sign that your identity is changing and you're calling in connections that match your new frequency. The macro signs are the big, undeniable changes that usually happen after weeks or months of consistent abundance practice. These are the manifestations that most people think of when they imagine financial transformation. A significant increase in income, whether through promotion, new job, business success, or unexpected windfall. Debt being resolved in ways you couldn't have planned. Major opportunities appearing that can change your financial trajectory long term. But perhaps the most important macro sign is the identity shift that becomes permanent. You stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles with money and start seeing yourself as someone who naturally attracts and manages abundance. You stop feeling surprised when good things happen financially and start expecting prosperity as your normal experience. You no longer identify with lack or limitation as core parts of who you are. Let me share what happened to Lysander, a graphic designer who had been freelancing for 12 years with constantly fluctuating income. Some months he would make good money, other months barely enough to cover rent. For years he rode this financial roller coaster, never feeling secure, never able to plan for the future. When he started working with abundance consciousness, the microsigns appeared within days. He noticed that instead of panic when work was slow, he felt curious about what opportunities might emerge. He started receiving small amounts of money in unexpected ways. A client overpaid by mistake and told him to keep the difference. An old employer sent him a final paycheck he'd never received. He found $53 in a jacket pocket he hadn't worn in months. The medium signs followed within 3 weeks. A former client called with a referral that led to his largest single project ever. 2 people in 1 week asked if he did web design, which he'd been wanting to expand into but hadn't promoted. He started getting invited to networking events where he met potential clients organically. The macro transformation happened at the 6-week mark. A company he'd done freelance work for offered him a part-time position with steady income plus benefits, while still allowing him to take on freelance projects. His monthly income increased by 60%, but more importantly, his financial stress disappeared completely. He went from constant worry about money to genuine excitement about his financial future. But the deepest sign of transformation was that he stopped checking his bank balance compulsively. For years, he would look at his account multiple times per day, trying to control his financial reality through monitoring. As his abundance consciousness grew, he naturally shifted to checking it weekly and feeling calm and grateful when he did. Take a moment right now and fique comigo em silêncio por apenas 5 segundos. Not much to ask, just 5. Feel what we're building together in this energy of abundance and possibility. Feel how your relationship with money has already begun to shift just through these minutes we've spent together. I want you to think about your own experience right now. What micro signs might you have been overlooking or dismissing as coincidence? What shifts in your nervous system around money have you noticed, even subtle ones? What small confirmations has the universe been sending that you haven't fully acknowledged? The signs are always there. The question is whether you're trained to see them and appreciate them. Remember, what you appreciate, appreciates. Every time you recognize evidence of abundance in your life, No matter how small, you strengthen your abundance consciousness and invite more prosperity to flow your way. The universe loves to be noticed, and abundance loves to be acknowledged. Let me take you back to where we began this journey together, because I want you to feel how far you've traveled in these past 48 minutes. We started with a question. Do you know why the more you worry about money, the less it comes to you? And now you understand not just the why, but more importantly, the how to change it. You've moved from being someone who might unconsciously repel abundance to someone who is consciously aligning with prosperity. You've learned that money is not about money. Money is about energy, frequency, consciousness, and your relationship with your own worthiness. You've discovered that your external financial circumstances are always a reflection of your internal abundance consciousness, and that changing your inner world inevitably transforms your outer world. You've practiced tools that begin to rewire decades of scarcity programming and replace it with abundance thinking. You've seen that the obstacles to prosperity are not external barriers, but internal patterns that can be healed with awareness and compassion. You've learned to recognize the signs that transformation is happening even before it's fully visible in your bank account. And perhaps most importantly, you've begun to remember that abundance is not something you have to earn or achieve. It's something you are, something you came here to express, something that's been waiting for your permission to flow freely through your life. But I want to share with you one final story, a story that illustrates the deepest truth about abundance consciousness and why this work we're doing together has the power to change not just your financial reality, but the entire trajectory of your life. This is the story of how I learned that prosperity begins inside, and it happened during what seemed like the darkest financial period of my life. It was 7 years ago, and I had just lost my job, my marriage was ending, and I was facing bankruptcy. I had exactly $417 to my name, and my rent was due in 5 days. For 3 months, I had been applying for jobs, cutting every expense, selling everything I owned of value, and still sliding deeper into financial crisis. I remember sitting in my car outside a job interview, feeling so defeated that I could barely summon the energy to walk inside. That's when I received a phone call that changed everything, though not in the way you might expect. It was from my 8-year-old niece, Berenice, calling to thank me for the birthday present I had sent her the week before. I had scraped together $35 to buy her a small gift because I couldn't bear the thought of missing her birthday, even though I couldn't afford it. She was so excited, so grateful, so full of joy over this simple gesture that suddenly I realized something profound. Even in my deepest financial struggle, I had chosen abundance. I had chosen generosity. I had chosen love over fear, giving over hoarding, connection over isolation. In that moment of what felt like my greatest poverty, I had acted from wealth consciousness. And if I could access abundance consciousness when I had almost nothing, I could certainly access it when I had more. I sat in that car and made a decision that seemed completely irrational given my circumstances. I decided to stop fighting against my financial reality and start aligning with abundance, not when my bank account improved, but right now, in the midst of what looked like financial disaster. I placed my hand on my heart and said the words that would change everything. The universe is abundant, and I am part of the universe. Therefore, I am abundant. I walked into that job interview with a completely different energy than I had carried into any interview in months. Instead of desperation and need, I brought confidence and value. Instead of hoping they would want me, I evaluated whether I wanted them. Instead of being grateful for any opportunity, I looked for the right opportunity. I didn't get that particular job, but something much better happened. The interviewer was so impressed with my presence and clarity that she recommended me to a colleague who was starting a new business and needed exactly my skill set. Within 2 weeks, I had not just a job, but a partnership opportunity that paid more than my previous salary. Within 6 months, the business was successful enough that my financial stress became a memory. Within 2 years, I had more financial freedom than I'd ever experienced. But the most important transformation wasn't in my bank account. It was in my identity. I had gone from seeing myself as a victim of financial circumstances to knowing myself as a conscious creator of abundance. The moment I stopped believing that prosperity was something outside of me that I had to chase or earn or hope for, and started knowing that abundance was something inside of me that I could choose to express, everything changed. Not because the universe suddenly decided to be generous with me, but because I finally stopped arguing with the generosity that had always been available. I learned that night in my car that abundance consciousness isn't about pretending you have money when you don't. It's not about positive thinking your way out of practical problems. It's about recognizing that your worth is not determined by your bank balance, that your security comes from your connection to the infinite creativity of life itself, and that prosperity is not something you have to deserve. It's something you have to allow. You've arrived at this same understanding through the work we've done together. You've felt your nervous system shift from fear to trust. You've experienced the power of speaking abundance instead of lack. You've connected with the truth that you are not separate from the wealth of the universe. You've remembered that prosperity is not a reward for good behavior. It's the natural result of aligning with your true nature. And here's what I need you to understand as we prepare for the final step of this transformation. You didn't arrive at this moment by accident. You didn't find your way to these teachings through coincidence. The part of you that knows you're meant for abundance, that refuses to settle for financial struggle, that's willing to do the inner work required for outer transformation. That part of you guided you here. You've made it through 48 minutes of deep inner work. You've stayed present. You've felt the shifts happening in your body and consciousness. You haven't walked away when concepts challenged your existing beliefs. You haven't dismissed this work as too spiritual, or too simple, or too good to be true. You've chosen again and again to stay open, to stay curious, to stay willing. This isn't random. This is alignment. You've been guided to this moment because your soul is ready for the abundance that's been waiting for you. Your higher self has orchestrated this convergence of timing, teaching, and readiness because it's time. Time to stop struggling with money. Time to stop believing that prosperity is for other people. Time to claim your birthright of abundance. What we're about to do together in these final moments is not just an affirmation or a practice. It's a conscious choice to step fully into abundance consciousness, to align with prosperity at the cellular level, and to give the universe clear and unambiguous permission to flood your life with financial ease and freedom. This is your moment of conscious choice, and it will determine the trajectory of your financial future. We have arrived at the sacred moment, the moment of conscious choice, the moment where you stop being someone who struggles with money and become someone who flows with abundance. What we're about to do together is more than words, more than hope, more than positive thinking. This is a fundamental shift in identity, a reorganization of consciousness, a decree that rewrites your financial DNA. Place your hand over your heart and feel that faithful rhythm, the rhythm that has never stopped believing in you, the rhythm that has carried you through every difficulty and delivered you to this moment of transformation. Feel the power in that heartbeat, the life force that has sustained you since before your first breath and will continue until your last. This is your connection to the infinite intelligence that creates worlds, and that same intelligence is about to reorganize your financial reality. Take a deep breath and feel yourself settling into this moment, into this choice, into this declaration of who you really are beneath all the fear and struggle and limitation you've been carrying. Feel yourself letting go of the identity of someone who has to worry about money, someone who has to struggle financially, someone who believes that prosperity is for other people but not for you. Now, I want you to feel something that might be completely new. I want you to feel what it's like to know, not hope, not wish, not dream, but to know that abundance is your natural state. Feel that knowing in your bones, in your cells, in the deep intelligence of your body that has never doubted its connection to life's infinite generosity. Feel yourself remembering what you knew before the world taught you to doubt your worth. We're going to speak your new identity into existence in 3 levels of power, each one deeper and more authoritative than the last. Each repetition will anchor this truth more deeply into your cellular memory, into your subconscious programming, into the very foundation of who you are. This is not about convincing yourself of something that isn't true. This is about remembering something that has always been true, but that you forgot. First, whisper these words like a secret you're sharing with your own heart, like a confession of truth that you've been afraid to speak, like a promise you're making to the most tender part of yourself. Whisper, I am abundance. Feel how gentle that is, how intimate, how loving. This is you acknowledging to yourself that beneath all the struggle and fear, abundance has always been your true nature. Now say it with your normal speaking voice, with confidence and clarity, as a statement of fact about who you are, as a declaration of truth that needs no justification or explanation. Say it now. I am abundance. Feel how that settles into your chest, how it resonates through your entire being. This is you claiming your identity as a prosperous person, someone who naturally attracts and maintains financial ease. Now speak it with the full authority of your being, with the power of someone who knows their worth, with the voice of your highest self declaring truth to the universe. Say it now with complete conviction. I am abundance. Feel that power moving through you. Feel how those words seem to come from a place deeper than personality, deeper than history, deeper than circumstance. This is your soul speaking its truth. Keep your hand on your heart and breathe into the energy those words have created. Feel something fundamental shifting in your cellular structure, in your nervous system, in your energetic field. You have just given the universe clear and unambiguous instructions about who you are and what you expect to experience. You have aligned with abundance at the deepest level of your being. Now we're going to seal this transformation with 3 declarations of your new identity, speaking into existence the person you are becoming, the financial reality you are creating, the abundance consciousness that will guide every decision from this moment forward. First, whisper like a prayer, like a sacred vow you're making to yourself and to life. Whisper, I am a person who naturally attracts prosperity. Feel that truth settling into the deepest parts of your psyche, into the places where your core identity is stored. Now speak it clearly and confidently as someone who knows their worth and expects to be treated accordingly. Say it now. I am a person who naturally attracts prosperity. Feel your posture shifting, your energy expanding, your confidence growing. Now declare it with absolute authority, with the power of someone who has awakened to their true nature and will never again accept less than they deserve. Declare now, I am a person who naturally attracts prosperity. Let those words echo through every cell of your body, through every corner of your consciousness, through the very fabric of your being. Breathe deeply and feel the completion of this transformation. You are no longer the person who began this journey with me 54 minutes ago. That person was trapped in scarcity consciousness, fighting against abundance, unconsciously repelling the very prosperity they desired. You have become someone new, someone who understands that abundance is not something to chase, but something to allow. Not something to earn, but something to receive. Not something outside of you, but something that lives within you. Do you remember the question we began with? Do you know why the more you worry about money, the less it comes to you? Now you know. Worry is the vibration of lack, and like attracts like. When you worry about not having enough, you're broadcasting scarcity consciousness to the universe. And the universe, which is always listening, always responding, says yes to your vibration and gives you experiences that match your frequency. But when you align with abundance consciousness, when you feel grateful for what you have, when you expect good things to come to you, when you know your worth and act from that knowing, you broadcast prosperity consciousness. And the universe, still listening, still responding, says yes to that vibration too, and arranges circumstances, opportunities, and resources to match your abundant expectations. This is why prosperity begins inside. Your external financial reality is always a reflection of your internal abundance consciousness. Change the inside, and the outside must follow. This is not hope. This is universal law. If you've made it this far, if you've done this work with me, if you've felt the shifts happening in your mind and body and heart, I want you to subscribe to this channel. Because you're not just someone who watched a video about abundance. You're someone who has been initiated into abundance consciousness, someone who has chosen to align with prosperity, someone who is now part of a community of people who understand that financial freedom is not a privilege, but a birthright. Come back in 21 days and comment your victory. Tell me about the opportunities that appeared, the money that flowed in, the changes in how you feel about your financial future. And there's a way to plant energy in the Buy Me a Coffee link in the comments below. It's not about payment. It's about circulation, about keeping abundance moving, about acknowledging that when you give freely, you receive freely, that generosity creates more generosity, that appreciation attracts more to appreciate. Either way, whether you choose to support this work financially or simply with your presence and attention, know that I'm here for you. Know that abundance is here for you. Know that prosperity is not just possible for you, it's inevitable for you because you've aligned your consciousness with it, and consciousness is the creative force of the universe. Place your hand on your heart one final time and say with me, "The prosperity I seek is seeking me. The abundance I desire already exists within me. I am worthy, I am ready, and I am grateful. It is done. It is done." Your new life of financial freedom begins now, not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, but now, in this breath, in this awareness, in this choice to live as the abundant being you were always meant to be. The universe has been waiting for this moment, waiting for you to claim your prosperity. And now that you have, all of life will conspire to support your abundance. Welcome to your prosperous life. It has always been yours. You've simply remembered how to receive it.